Welcome to Homeschool is a Work of Heart. I'm Melissa Webb, and after years in the classroom and years homeschooling and supporting those in home education, and even more years creating curriculum for families like yours, I have learned this. Homeschooling isn't about perfection. It is about purpose. And this podcast is here to encourage you, to guide you, and to remind you that what you're doing truly matters. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Well, hello people. How are you? I am doing fantastic. We have a growing group of home educators joining us every week for this podcast, and I want to welcome you if you are new. Big hugs to everybody returning. Huge hugs to everyone sharing this with their friends. You guys are amazing. And for all of you who are new, welcome. You have found your people. My topics here for this podcast reflect the things that you want to hear about. So please always remember to reach out if there is something you would like me to delve a little deeper into. I love to do that. So I'm here for you. And also new, just so you know, I am starting to host monthly virtual live trainings for home educators. And during these trainings, I'm going to share the simple system that I've created that brings out the best in our young writers. And yes, for free, I'm going to tell you exactly how I get kiddos to write one essay a month, month after month after month. It is remarkable, yes. And it's only getting better. And I want to give you the tools you need to succeed in home education, because that is our future. At least I hope that's the future. It's what I want to see more of. Better, bigger learning at home. That's what I want. So anyway, the first training that I'm hosting is scheduled for next Thursday, April 30th. So I hope you can come hang out with me in live time. I really want to get to know all of you. And yes, I will share the ways in which we can work together. I have programs, all the good things. But right now, you just need to register. So I can send you the Zoom link, the details, etc. And I'll link it to this episode. But you will also find the registration page on my website, which is writeonweb.com. That's WRITEONWEBB, like my last name.com. All right, onward we go. This week's episode is called The Mirror Effect. And if you don't already know, our son Adam and his lovely wife Lily are expecting their first baby, a baby girl, this June. It is getting so close and I'm so excited. And my daughter-in-law and I keep sending hysterical Instagram reels to one another about pregnancy and motherhood and babies, just all the funny stuff that people are out there creating. So recently I watched the cutest reel of a baby glancing back and forth at her mother's reactions. And the mother was intentionally doing different feelings, right? But showing them on her face. So when the mother laughed, the little baby smiled. And then when she looked surprised, the little baby looked surprised. It's just so precious to watch. And I started to think about how the fact that there is a name for that. And I looked back to see if I've ever done a full episode on mirroring. And I can't believe that I haven't, but I couldn't find it. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Because human beings have been mirroring since the dawn of time, and you have seen it countless times. It can create joy, but it can also create chaos. So I want you just to imagine this scene. Not that it's ever happened to you, but it maybe happened to me once or twice when the boys were younger. You've got one kiddo in your home who's gotten really frustrated, snaps at another sibling, and what does that sibling do? Handles it very calmly? No, they mirror the behavior and they snap back. Then you step in. Now suddenly your tone is matching their tone, and now everyone's emotions are elevated. Can you relate? Yes. I know it feels like it came out of nowhere when these moments happen, but they really don't. There is a reason why this happens, And once you see it, you will not be able to unsee it. And I think that's a good thing. So today we're going to talk about mirroring. And the good news is that understanding this one concept can completely change how you respond to your child, how your children respond to each other, and honestly, how we all can move through the world with more peace and more joy. Do we all want that? I think we do. So first off, I'm just going to talk about what mirroring is. It's actually this idea that we naturally, as humans, reflect the emotions and behaviors of the people around us. But it's not just a theory. It's actually rooted in brain science. Yep, this is when I'm going to geek out. You know me. There are researchers in neuroscience. Specifically, there's a guy by the name of Giacomo Rizzolatti, and he discovered something that are called mirror neurons in our brain. Now, these neurons fire not only when we act a certain way. So if I act scared, these neurons fire in my brain, but they also fire not just when I'm feeling it, but when we watch someone else act or feel a certain way. So think of movies that make you feel a certain way just because of the facial expressions that you're seeing. Isn't that amazing? This happens in our home every single day. And that's just awe-inspiring. Look at me bringing awe right back in today's episode. That was last week's topic. You definitely want to check that one out. That was a really popular episode. I'm glad you guys liked it. We need to be looking for awe every day. It's actually physically good for us. Anyway, in other words, when someone around you is frustrated, your brain is going to start firing those neurons, those mirror neurons. Your brain starts practicing frustration right along with that person. Kind of crazy, I know, but we were wonderfully and fearfully made, my friend. And this is the reason why emotions can spread so quickly, especially negative ones. There's also a book I want to tell you about this week, Daniel Goleman. I've talked about him before. His book is called Social Intelligence. But in that book, he explains that emotions are actually contagious. And like I said, I've talked about that in another episode, but the bottom line is this: we don't just experience emotions, we catch emotions from each other. And I do know that you see this every single day, even if you weren't actually aware of it. You will be now. You will be now. You're going to see it in your marriage, right? One person gets a little sharp, the other person matches it. And it's not because they planned to. They could have been in a fine mood. Everything was going along just great. It's because it's automatic. No one is good. No one is bad. That's not what we're talking about. We are just humans doing our best. And you'll see it with your kids now. One child starts to melt down. And if you're not careful, your body, your tone, your words might also rise up to meet them. So now, instead of one overwhelmed person, we have two or three or four. You see this with siblings all the time. One child pokes. What does the other one do? Pokes back harder. Yeah? Suddenly, this becomes a full-blown situation over something that just started so small. And it is around us everywhere in the world too. All you have to do is scroll social media for a minute or two, if you dare. I really try to stay off these days. I just don't like it. I just don't. You watch the tone of the news, the energy spreads. I don't care what side anyone is on. It just doesn't matter. This negative energy is out there on both sides, and the negative emotion spreads on both sides. And now we're mirroring. And it does explain why things escalate so quickly. But here's the hopeful part. It also explains why calm is so powerful. And it's so important. That's what we choose to put out into the world so that others can mirror how we're showing up. So there are some things we can do today. So good news there. But here's the thing. I really want you to just take a moment. This next part that I want to go over may have you like gulp. That's me. If your child has been mirroring negative emotions, you need to pay attention to who is reflecting that, because it could be you who they are mirroring. I want you to ask yourself how you're showing up in your home, in your day-to-day life, in your marriage, in your relationships in general. Because if you've been short-tempered, should you be surprised to see that emotion reflected in the people around you? Are you mirroring that, or are you reflecting that for others to take? Even if you are feeling short-tempered, it could be because you're getting that from someone else. Awareness is key. We have to ask ourselves, honestly, even when, maybe especially when, it's a little uncomfortable at first, because we have to take ownership first of the things we bring to the table. You know, our pastor one time had said, I want you to notice how anyone pointing a finger at someone else actually has 3 of their own fingers pointing back toward them. So try that with your hand. Make the, yes, I'm pointing at you hand gesture. It looks like the gun gesture too, I suppose. But I want you to see how your middle finger, your ring finger, and your pinky are facing back toward you. It is worth considering. Let's first look inward rather than point the finger. And that's a good lesson to teach our kids as well. So ask yourself, this would be a great journal prompt, especially if it's been an issue. If right now you're like, wow, Melissa, I didn't know you were going to make this podcast specifically for me today. Maybe I am. That's great. Grab your journal. What emotions are you seeing in yourself, or are you seeing in your child that you wish were not happening as frequently as they are? Now let's focus on our kids, because I know a lot of us have such big hearts for our children. We don't want to see our kids struggle with negative emotions. Of course not. We can't keep them from having them. There's no solution to that. But if you're seeing something that's happening quite frequently, let's up our awareness. Ask yourself, what are they seeing? And to be clear, so clear, I am not saying that this is a name and blame kind of game we're playing here. It's really not. It's about ownership and awareness. It's about opening our eyes, helping our children open their eyes, because this is the truth right here. You cannot control your child's emotions, but you are often setting the emotional tone. I'm going to say that one more time. You cannot control your child's emotions, but you are often setting the emotional tone, my friend. So if we're matching their chaos, we're multiplying it. But if we ground ourselves, if we teach this to our kids, we can then give them something steady to mirror. And that's where all of your influence lies. It's so important. And that does bring up the next question, which is, should we teach this to our children, or is this too advanced for our kids to understand? We should teach it. It is not too high level for our kids to get. And here's the part I love most, because this is where we can take something that feels automatic, because it is, but make it intentional, because we can. This is such a good lesson for our children, and it's easy peasy. 1, 2, 3. I like keeping things in 3s. My students will tell you, what's Mrs. Webb's favorite number? 3. She always tells us to work in 3s. I do. So of course, I have 3 things I want you to keep in mind the next time these negative emotions are flying all around and you're seeing the mirror and the reflection. Doesn't matter the who, you're just seeing it. Number 1, set everybody down. Hey, we need to name this. And you don't have to use these words. You could just simply point out, hey, honey, do you notice when your brother says certain things, you get really mad at him, and then he gets loud at you, and then you get louder at him, and this just goes back and forth? Just use the word, do you notice? You're not correcting. You're just bringing awareness. You're helping your child see something that maybe was never noticed. Awareness is always step one. And it usually starts with something much sooner. And so you want to show that pattern. And you want to use these real moments, by the way. Those are always the best. So you just say, hey, I want you both to watch what happens when I choose instead to stay calm. And then actually do that. Take a deep breath, maybe a few. Let them see the difference happening in real time. As you start to act calm, guess what? You're mirroring that. It's being reflected onto them. They're going to calm down. Now, you may need to teach some pausing tools, right? Because mirroring does happen quickly. It's automatic, and we want them to know how to slow it down. So these pausing tools are great. The taking a breath is great. Counting to 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever. Walking away, just stepping away for a moment, that's helpful too. So whatever you use, whatever you've seen your kids use in the past, talk about that to teach them that this is a pattern that I'm seeing and we need to interrupt it. We need to interrupt that pattern. Instead of things escalating, because now you're feeding off of each other's mirrors and reflections. And again, use an actual mirror for this. Get a small mirror and have some fun with it. Be silly at first. Once this moment is over, right? Say, everybody look angry, and have them look at their angry face in a mirror. A lot of these times kids don't know how they look when you say a certain thing. Now I want you to, in the mirror, I want you to take a look at yourself when I say you have to stop playing that game now. What look do you give? And let the kids see what their looks look like. And they may go, oh, I roll my eyes. And you're like, yeah, you do. Right? There's many different directions you could go with this. And I think it could be a really great family moment. But those are the first two. Okay, so you're going to name it, hey, do you notice this is happening? And then you show the pattern and that it can be interrupted, how to interrupt the pattern. And then the third thing, which is probably the most important, is then teach ownership. And this one matters a lot because most kids are going to say something like, yeah, but he made me mad. He started it. It always comes back to something like that. This is your chance. You want to guide them. So you're going to break it down. You can ask, okay, well, what did your brother first say that started the whole thing? Well, he said I'm stupid. Okay. Is he right or wrong about that? Which I love asking this of kids because here I am modeling calmness, right? They're heated up. They've been in this argument, mirroring each other's emotions. I come in, I'm calm, and I just say, so is he right or is he wrong about that? Just very calmly. Now, this is usually when a look of incredulity or disbelief is going to cross their face, right? My boys would be like, I just picture Derek. He'd be like, what? No, I'm not stupid. So then I calmly say, I agree. You're not. So honey, you have options. When it comes to responding to other people's words or emotions, you can get mad, but how does that then make you feel? And does it make things better? Or now you're mirroring anger. It's reflected in him being angry right back to you, right? It's not like he's going to say, you know what, actually I'm wrong. He's not. It's just going to escalate because of this automatic mirroring neurons that are firing off in both of you. So then talk about what other options we have. You could say, what if you'd said, believe what you will, Adam, and then just walked away? It is an option, and you get a pick. And that stops any negative reflection and mirroring from happening. That's empowering. And the point of ownership is not to get our kids to do what we want. My goal in this is not to be like, I don't want my kids to fight, so I'm going to teach them this. Nope. That shouldn't be our reasoning. That's self-serving reasoning. That's not why I want you to do this. I want you to empower your kids. I want you to increase their realization that there are so many options available each and every day for all of us. They should always pick the one that gives them the outcome they want. Future thinking. I don't want to fight today. I just don't want to fight, so I'm not going to make a big deal about this. Now, that's not to say that sometimes I don't want to be mad. Sometimes I do want to be mad. It's not often, though. And I choose wisely because these are things I practice, things I've taught my kids to practice, things I want you to practice, and things I hope you teach your kids to practice. So how does this land for you? Is your brain whirling and swirling? I hope so. I hope that you can spend some time thinking about this today or later this evening. This is good use of your time. It will change your family dynamic for the better. I promise. Okay. Now, lastly, I must mention the importance of your modeling this as well. So this is a big one. You want to stay calm when it would be easy not to. You want to lower your voice when theirs is rising. You want to pause when everything in you wants to react. Why? Because your child is always watching. And later, you can even use it as an example because a real life example is always going to be more convincing than a made up one. Okay? You feeling good about this? We are about at the end of our time together. So here's what I want you to take with you today. With these tools, you are not just managing behavior in your home. You are shaping the emotional climate your child is learning to live in and build for themselves. And I would say, I think that's even more important than knowing your times tables, which of course is still important. But life skills are going to trump most other things. You are not just their home educator, you are their counselor. So really consider that. What are the life skills you want to be teaching? One day, your well-adjusted, emotionally stable kiddos are going to take that same emotional pattern that you're teaching them today into their future friendships, relationships, workplaces, their own family someday. So when you choose calm, when you pause, when you respond instead of react, you're not just changing that moment. You, my friend, are teaching a skill that will last your kids a lifetime. So awesome. Yes, let's do this. And let's start mirroring love, patience, kindness, gentleness, all those good fruits. We want that to be seen by others so that they will reflect it back to the people in their lives. We are the beginning of change in so many wonderful ways. And hey, don't forget, register for next week's virtual meeting. I can't wait to see you. Right on. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And hey, if you are feeling stretched thin and you would love some support with teaching writing, I offer programs designed to make that part of homeschooling easier and more enjoyable for both you and your child. I also have free resources on my website, so please be sure to check those things out and subscribe to the podcast. You do not have to do this alone. Right on.